Hello and welcome to our second video in the series. So if you haven't watched the previous ones, I would recommend that you do go back and have a look. Okay, so the first one in this series was based all around you guys starting to think about working from home. So we spoke about setting a timetable, some basic tips in terms of tidying your room, keeping your environment clear and tidy. And we also spoke about what you can do, okay, on a daily basis in terms of your schoolwork and managing your mental health as well. Okay, so those are the things we spoke about in our previous video. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend you go back and have a look at it. If you just want to have a look at this video, if this is more applicable to you, by all means, feel free to do so. So my name is Shane. My first name is Shane and my surname is Franklin. And this session is all going to be about, as the title says, advice and recommendations on the current employment market in the UK and how to secure work experience, apprenticeships, internships, or just some basic work experience. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. A bit of background about myself. So I've worked for an organisation, or I'm a chief executive of an organisation called Seagun. And in a nutshell, we are really passionate about developing people and nurturing tomorrow's leaders. So we do a lot of work with young people between the ages of 7 years old and 25 years old. So anywhere you can imagine a young person would be, that could be in a school, college, university, pupil referral unit, youth club, youth group, local authority, anywhere you can imagine a young person would be between the age of 7 to 25 years old. I do lots of work with them. I'm currently at home, so it's January 2021. We are unfortunately in a lockdown, so I'm going to be talking to you today about how to secure jobs and the current landscape at the moment. When I'm not doing that, we do learning and development training programs, and we're really passionate about equipping young people with the skills needed for the modern world of work. So today we're going to be talking about jobs, what it's looking like at the moment, okay, and also what you can start to do to secure some employment. So, at the moment, you may be feeling a little bit like this, which is understandable, completely understandable. We are bombarded at the moment with lots of different news stories about youth unemployment. I'm not going to say there isn't an issue there. At the moment in January 2021, they say there's about 750,000 young people who are unemployed. And that increases to about a million young people when we look at those, the unofficial ones, so the ones who are not sort of claiming some form of universal credit or unemployment benefits. So about a million young people who are unemployed at the moment. Now, I have the pleasure of working with lots of these young people. And I worked with a group of young people earlier this year who went on to secure apprentices at a leading investment bank. So at the moment, you may be feeling like this. You may be seeing lots of this. Okay, so sorry, we're closed, we're working remotely, things are shut, it's not happening. And in certain industries, that is the case. Okay, so if you hospitality is not doing particularly well at the moment. So if you're watching this video and you always dream to go and work in a hotel, it might be a bit of a challenge at the moment. Not impossible, but it might be a challenge. If you're looking at this video and you want to work in a restaurant or in catering, those industries have been massively hit. So I'm not going to lie to you and say there isn't an issue there. However, there are lots of other industries that are absolutely thriving at this moment in time, really, really thriving. So what I'm going to encourage you guys to do later on is to start to think about who these companies are that are thriving, okay, and how we can start to think about connecting with them, whether you want a full-time job, grad job, internship, apprenticeship, or even just some work experience, okay. There's lots of ways you can sort of start to think about working and engaging with these different people. So what I'm trying to say is, you may be a bit like that, okay, it's understandable. You may be really optimistic, okay, you may see lots of this, but actually, there's equally lots of this. Okay, maybe not face to face, maybe not touching each other and sitting like, less than 2 meters apart from each other, but there are lots of companies out there at the moment that are employing. Employment landscape has drastically changed within the last 12 months, or 9 to 12 months. And basically, whereas before, you may submit an application, your CV and your covering letter, which in another video later on, I'm going to cover more information on. You may be submitting some information there, okay, and you may get a face-to-face interview, okay, go in and get to meet the team in the offices and things like that. Unfortunately, that is not happening at the moment, okay, but recruitment is still taking place, particularly for young people. Okay, so I'll say that again. Recruitment is still taking place, particularly for young people. Okay, so but what we have gone from is this scenario here where it's face to face and this lucky young woman looks like she's just secured a job, everyone looks happy, to something like this. Okay, so I've been on interview panels and recruitment panels this year for various different organisations, and we're seeing the first stage after you submit a CV or cover letter is actually it's just a phone call. Really, really simple. Okay, companies are taking people on, however, they're doing it differently. Okay, and what they are doing to start off with is just having a phone call with people. Quite simple, quite straightforward, nothing to be intimidated about. All they're doing is having a phone call with people to understand their skills, their experience, and to do a half an hour, a little informal chat just to see if they're suitable for the role. Okay, so hopefully if you are looking for jobs, okay, get your CV out there, get your cover letter out there, because there are lots of telephone interviews going on at the moment because lots of companies are recruiting and getting people, particularly young people, on board via the internet, telecoms, and also over the phone. Once we then get there, again, it may not be actually face to face like this, but like this person is, there are so many remote interviews, guys, so many remote interviews taking place. Okay, the technology is there. Lots of people are using Zoom or Microsoft Teams. If you haven't and you are looking for a job, the first thing that you need to do is download and get yourself familiar with using Teams and using Zoom, because what will happen if you do apply for an apprenticeship or you do apply for an internship, you will have a Microsoft Teams or Zoom meeting where they will want to see your face. Okay, so the first stage may be phoned over the phone. The second stage, realistically, will be a Zoom or Teams meeting. So I would recommend, if you're not quite used to it, okay, to download it and have a play around with those different platforms. So once we've done that, what I want you guys to do is, and the way I've been structuring these videos is, it would be really, really boring if I just sat here, asked you to do a task, and I sat here looking out the window for 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah. So what I want to do is I'll give you the questions, but I'd recommend that you pause the video. Okay. So go and grab yourself a pen and paper, pause the video, and then do the exercises. Okay. So as in anything else in life, you get what you put in. So I'd recommend you pause it, do the exercises, and then come back to it. So what I want you to do, the first thing is to make a list. So the first question is, what companies did well during the pandemic? So we had lots of companies that weren't doing so well, like businesses that are struggling, but there's been some companies out there that you may actually use, okay, or you may have signed up to them. I know I've definitely signed up to a few companies and using them a lot more than I did before the lockdown. So what companies did well during the pandemic? So that's the first question. So pause the video and write that down. What companies did well during the pandemic? Lovely. So I hope you've got a whole big list. You might have 1 or 2 companies. You might have filled a whole A4 page full of companies, but I'm sure, okay, you've got at least 1 or 2 names of businesses that did well during the pandemic. So we're going to come back to that. The second question I'd like you to start thinking about is, what companies or industry would you like to work for or in? Okay, so what companies would you like to work for? Okay, so I'd like you again, get your bit of paper and write down your ideal. It doesn't matter if you don't have any experience in there. If you want to go and work for Microsoft or Dell or British Airways or one of these big companies, or if you just want to, I don't know, maybe you want to go and work in childcare. Okay, well, who is it? Who would you really, really like to work for? So pause the video and then write that down. What company or industry would you really like to work for? Brilliant. So hopefully you've at least got an industry. If you haven't got the company, don't worry, but you at least know an industry. So for example, I use a childcare. I know nothing about childcare, by the way. So if I said I wanted to go into childcare, I would have, at least, okay, I want to go into childcare, and there may be 3 or 4 nurseries, okay, that I would really love to work for. Okay, so you've got that. Third thing is, how can you engage with these companies? Now, what I mean by engage is, how can you follow? There's a bit of clue there. How can you follow and get to know what these companies are doing at this moment in time? Okay, so how can you engage with these companies? Let's pause the video, write that down. Brilliant. So we've gone through what companies did well during the pandemic, what companies you would like to work for, industry, and the third thing is how we can engage with these companies. So let's look at the first one first of all. What companies did well during the pandemic? This list is by no means exhaustive, you know what I mean? It just gives an idea. This is something I thought about earlier. Okay, so Uber did really, really well. Okay, so particularly, okay, people, they may not have been moving around so much, but Uber has grown and they're doing very, very well. Uber Eats, I was always a delivery man myself. No, I was a delivery man. I used Uber Eats before, but I recently moved over to delivery. But Uber Eats, okay, I live in East London and I see so many different bikes and cars, and people are ordering, okay, and eating food at home, okay, lots of takeaways. So whether you're going with Uber Eats or delivery, these companies have boomed. They've done really, really well. Okay, so what does this mean for you? This means that actually there might be some apprenticeship opportunities, there might be some internships. Okay, now companies like Deliveroo and Uber Eats, yes, they obviously do food delivery, but there's going to be someone there in social media, monitoring their social media, someone in marketing, someone in admin, someone in HR. There's lots of different areas that Uber Eats and Deliveroo will operate. Okay, so those are a couple of companies there that have done well. TikTok, I'm not personally on TikTok, but I've seen the videos on there. They look very entertaining. Social media apps, TikTok, they have done very well, and also Salesforce. Okay, and I'm sure you've got a few other companies down on there, okay, that have also done well as well. So we started off by thinking that it's really challenging. Okay, the employment landscape is not great, but actually, I've just listed 5 here, and I bet you've got a couple there at home of companies that have done really well during the pandemic. Okay, so the second question is, what companies would you like to work for? Okay, so it'd be impossible for me to go into it, in this particular video. But what I would say, whatever you've written down, how you can engage with these companies is going to be the same. Okay, it is going to be the same. So what I would say to you is you can follow them on their social media, you can read all their blog posts, okay, and you can look up, okay, and start to, particularly on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok, okay, all of these companies are on there. We can follow them, and a lot of the time they post job opportunities, okay, and lots of internships and opportunities for young people. It might not be paid. Okay, it might not be paid straight away, but they do post opportunities on there. Okay, so you can engage with them through social media. I've put a couple up here, options up here, okay? These are the ones that I have used that I know are pretty good, okay? So the first one would be LinkedIn, okay? So if you are looking for a job, even if you have no experience whatsoever, okay, I really, 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 really recommend that you get LinkedIn, okay? So LinkedIn is a bit like Facebook or Instagram, except for you just post professional information on there, and it's completely acceptable to to connect with, again, follow companies that you like. So, for example, even I'll use the childcare example again. I don't know why I'm using that today, but I'll use that. Nurseries may have pages on LinkedIn. They will post up jobs on their LinkedIn page, okay? Because believe it or not, recruitment costs money, okay? So for LinkedIn to go to somebody else on another website, they're going to have to, for the nursery to go to another website and advertise a role, it's going to cost them money, and big money. So if they can advertise it on their own social media platforms for free, okay, then they're going to save some money. So if you haven't already, get on LinkedIn. Give a grad a go, okay, is also a great source there for information about graduates. You may not be there and have a degree yet, but there's going to be information there about, how to secure jobs and information for young people. Glassdoor, so they provide information about different companies and different salaries. So if you don't know how much a job is paying, Glassdoor is really good. And Indeed, again, another jobs board on there, okay, where you can have a look for different jobs and see what is available at the moment. Excuse me, actually drinking lots of water, talking all the time. So those are 4 different options that you can explore if you're looking for a job. My first port of call, what I would recommend would be LinkedIn, okay, and then check out Glassdoor, give a grad a go, and then Indeed. All 4 of those are great resources to find out about companies and what jobs are available. So I touched on this before, but social networks, guys, social networks are really important. I bet you've got at least one social network account, okay? And if you haven't got, for example, Twitter, sign up for it, okay? Because a lot of the companies will be posting, as I said, on their Twitter account about job opportunities, postings, apprenticeships, internships, even online Zoom sessions. Okay, there's lots of, I was in one last week actually, where you sign on, it's a Zoom session, and there's lots of young people talking about the experience of getting a job, and there's lots of people, recruiters in there helping people out. So I'd really recommend that you get involved with that. After that, now I'm not going to go into too much information in this episode because the following one I'm going to talk more about CVs and cover letters. But once you've identified the company that you'd like to work for, even if there is no position available, so you go on the website, you follow on them social media, they haven't got internships, they haven't got apprenticeships, I'd really recommend that you get a CV and you get a cover letter in place. Okay, now a CV and cover letter I'm going to cover in the 3rd video, so I'm not going to talk too much about it now, but in a nutshell, it is for you to sell yourself to organizations and tell them what you've done, what your hobbies, what your interests are, okay, even if you don't have too much work experience in, okay, any extracurricular activities that you've done, put it in there, okay, put it in there, a CV and a cover letter. And then what I would really recommend you do is to just reach out to people, okay? So you can start to think about sending emails to people, okay, retweeting stuff, hitting people up on social media, adding contacts, following companies, and then when you're ready, okay, then start to approach them with whatever your offer is or whatever help. A huge number of organizations want to help young people. They're very passionate. You guys are the future. More than likely, you are the people that they want to market and sell to, or will want to in the future. So they want to get you on board. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with sending out emails, reaching directly out to people in order to connect and understand where they're at the moment, and if they have some opportunities available. I'd really recommend that you get onto LinkedIn and you also start to have a look, okay, because there's loads of different forums out there, professional forums where lots of people are talking and giving advice, connecting with other people, okay, about how to secure that job, okay. And I've known and I've been involved in recruitment this year for a large investment bank when they recruited 13 apprentices all around London, and it was all done remotely. So it is possible. And I'll tell you something else, all of those apprentices, so 13 of them, were all unemployed before they started. All of them were unemployed, and they bagged a job. Well, they're going to start next week, but they bagged a job at the beginning of January. So it is possible, guys. It is possible. So with that, I want to come to close there. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something from it. It's just a snapshot and an overview in terms of the market at the moment here within the UK. What I would say to you is, don't be intimidated. Get out there. Yes, it is challenging, but there's still jobs. There are still jobs out there. And I'd implore you, it doesn't matter how you go about it, to really get yourself out there. Start to look. If you're not ready to start to get a job yet and start applying, even gathering information on companies and the type of job you'd want to do will be really, really useful. So I hope you've enjoyed that session. Thank you so much for coming along. I am going to do a second video, which is all going to be about CVs, or third video, sorry, all about CVs and cover letters. And I will be recording that shortly, and it will be online. Thank you very much. Have a good day.